Okay. Good Vach Shavua Tov. It should be a good Vach. Besoros Tovos for Klal Yisrael. Please God, we should hear good news. Thank you all for accommodating the change in schedule this week. Baruch Hashem, traveling for good things, so unable to do Tuesday, but glad and grateful you're here for the Parsha Shir, Parsha Shemini, page 588 in the Art Scroll Stone Chumash. I want to thank our Parsha series sponsors, Becky and Avi Katz and family, in memory of David Grossman, Lila Nishmas, David ben Menachem Monash, Becky's father's Neshama Shelav and Aliyah. Today's Shir is sponsored by Sharon Wenger and Jonathan Wenger in loving memory of their beloved husband and father, Bruce Wenger, on his 8th yahrzeit. Very grateful for their generosity. And by the Kasorla family in memory of Eliyahu Natan ben Chaim, Neshama Shelav and Aliyah. Thank you very much for your generosity. Page 588, Parsha Shemini, the end of last week's Parsha, happened to have been yesterday, concluded with the 7 days of the Miluim, the 7 days of constructing and destroying, assembling and taking apart the Mishkan, the dry run, the inauguration, the test, the rehearsal. And then we begin, Vayihi bayom hashmini karam Moshe Aharon levanav l'ziknei Yisrael. And it was on the 8th day, which is a funny way to call the beginning of something, the 8th day. It was on the first day. Why is the first day being described as the 8th day? Particularly because this 8th day also happened to be what day on the calendar? Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the first of the month of Nisan. So really it is the first, not the 8th. So why does it begin Vayi bayom hashmini? And it was on the 8th day. And Rashi tells us, Shmini lamiluim. It was the 8th day of this inauguration, orientation, rehearsal. 1 week of rehearsal, 8th day, showtime. Opening pitch, opening game. It is time. Shehukam Mishkan bo b'yom v'natal asar ataras hashnius b'seder olam. That was the day that the Mishkan began. What should have been an incredibly happy and joyous and celebratory day, and it's called Vayom Hashmini, the 8th day, because it connects and correlates with what came before. We've spoken about this at length in previous Parsha Shiurim. Rashi says that Moshe assembles on this 8th day. Moshe calls Aharon, Ulabanov, and it makes sense. Why is he calling Aharon? I see later in the day doesn't work so well for you. There's still coffee set up in the back. Why is he calling Aharon? Aaron's the Kohen Gadol. Aharon is the primary participant leader. He is the major player in this Mishkan. Ulevanav, why is he calling Levanav Aaron's children? They're Kohanim. They also play a role. Uleziknei Yisrael, but why is he assembling the empty nesters? Why is he calling the Ziknei Yisrael? Says Rashi, Lashmim Shalpi Adibor Aaron Nichnas, Umeshamish Bekuna Gedola, V'lo Yomru Me'ilav Nichnas. Because Moshe wants to declare, he wants to demonstrate, he wants it to be clear that Hashem is the one who instructed this. Hashem pressed go. Hashem designated these major leaders, protagonists, players. And V'lo Yomru Me'ilav Nichnas. Nobody should be suspicious. No controversy, no conspiracy theory that they entered on their own, they began it on their own. Says Rav Druck and Lahav Ozesh, Yesh Lisbonim binyan zeh shutzrach Moshe l'kol Aharon levanav l'chol ziknei Yisrael. Ma pesher inyan zeh le'ezat tzorach kara Moshe levanas Aharon v'gam es kol ziknei Yisrael. Isn't it enough? Call Aharon and Banav, call Aharon and his sons, get to work, get started, open the Mishkan. Why all ziknei Yisrael? So Rashi tells us nobody should suspect that they came on their own. Adayin tzarach lavin shari lo ro'u v'lo shama ziknei Yisrael ba'atzmas hatzivui. 1 second. But the elders didn't hear Hashem designate Aharon and his sons. How did it help to have them there? If he's trying to set a precedent, if he's trying to establish a truth, no one can be suspicious. No conspiracy theorist online can raise this controversy that Aharon went in on his own. Nope. Hashem designated, Hashem selected, Hashem is the one who pressed go. How will having the Zikanim there, but they didn't hear Hashem say it? How will that help? So says Rav Druck the following. Achein mavur b'zeh yisod gadol. Shalimadnu Moshe Rabbeinu kol davar shosam Yisrael tzrichim la'asosu im hazkenim. Anything that the Jewish people do should be done with an assembly of the elders. Lo zazim v'lo osim shum davar b'lo ziknei Yisrael. There's a terrible mistake. Some communities or segments of the community think we're invested only in the young, in the youth, in the future. And those who are older or elderly, which is just anyone older than me, they represent the past. And we have to focus on the future. We have to be invested in the present. But the elder, the older, the retired, the zakanim, the empty nesters, they're yesterday. They're the past. We move on. We don't design programs. We don't designate staff members. We don't invest our budget. That's not what it's about. Says Rav Druck, you see from this pasuk, that's not true. Machmas ken kara Moshe li'Aaron levanu l'chozik ne Yisrael kidei lelamed ledoros shekol davar kakaton kagadol tzarich lios al pi hazakenim. You need to enact something. You need to inaugurate something. You need to launch something new. We don't throw away yesterday. We build today on yesterday. The Zakenim, who are not yesterday, they're also today, and the Zakenim are also tomorrow. Their wisdom, their life experience, their age is not a deficit or a liability. It's an asset and it's an advantage. And Klal Yisrael, is this not what we're about to celebrate? The whole holiday of Pesach is multi-generational, intergenerational. The whole format of questions and answers. We are a people who it's not, we don't throw out the past. We don't graduate, we're not done, we don't retire, we don't move on. And when all the Jewish people would see that Moshe summoned not only Aharon Ubanov, but it was groundbreaking day, it was opening day, about to launch something new, who sits in the front row? Who has the best reserved seats? The Zakenim. Because all of Klal Yisrael need to see, they are indispensable, they are critical. That wisdom, that life experience, that participation. Mimenu yiru v'chein yasu kol hadoros, lo laso shum davar b'lo hazakenim. We don't make a move. We don't make a major decision. We don't start a new project without the presence of the Zakenim. And this way the Jewish people are very different, counterculture to what's going on. That's what Paro couldn't understand. When he says to Moshe, Miva miha holchim, who's going? And what is Moshe's response? What do you mean who's going? Binarenu ubizkenenu nelech. Bizkenenu, you know how much they're going to slow you down? Walkers and wheelchairs and canes, bathroom stops and medicine refills. You know how much they're going to slow you down? Doctor's appointments and rehab. So what do you mean bizkenenu? I'm one. Look at me. I'm one of the Zakenim. I'm making fun of myself. The white beard. Binarenu ubizkenenu ki chag Hashem chag Hashem lanu. It's not a chag if the Zakenim aren't there. It's not a chag if the Zakenim aren't there. Klal Yisrael, Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, b'yom Shemini on this opening day, la'aron levanu l'ziknei Yisrael. And that's what Rav Druck writes. Ve'emes davar zeh mafurish b'medrash u'l'ziknei Yisrael mar Rebbe Kiva nimshel Yisrael la'of ma ha'of hazeh ino pareach below knafayim. The Jewish people are like a bird, just like a bird can't fly without spreading his wings. So too kach Yisrael ein yecholon la'asos davar chutz mizikneim. Who are the wings of Klal Yisrael that let us soar? The Zakenim. Those who've made sacrifice, those who've lived life, those who have wisdom, those who've been invested, those on whose shoulders we stand. And without the Zakenim, we're a bird without wings. Without wings, you can't go very far. You can't advance. You can't advance even a little bit if you don't have wings, let alone you can't take off and soar. The Zakenim are the wings of Klal Yisrael. Says Rav Druck, this is a critical message for us to communicate to our children, to our grandchildren, and maybe for the first time or generation in history, to our great-grandchildren. Kenai Nahara, such a blessed time that we're living in, to count great-grandchildren. Amir Shem, everyone should be zocha to have. Dor v'dorshav, dor v'chachamav. Kamo shomar Gemara Rosh Hashanah, Yerubal b'dor k'Moshe b'doro. Badam b'dor ka'Aaron b'dor, Yiftach b'dor k'Shmuel b'doro. Ein laso shum davar b'lo hazakenim. No matter what level those Zakenim are in each generation, the Zakenim of today aren't the same as the Zakenim of yesterday. Doesn't matter. The Zakenim of every generation are who are meant for that generation, and we don't make a move without the Zakenim of that generation. So it was this 8th day after the Miluim. We don't abandon the past. We build upon it. That's why it is the 8th day. That's why it is the 8th day. And that's why Kara Moshe Aharon Levanav. But you can't begin opening day, inaugurate the Mishkan, unless the Ziknei Yisrael are there. If they can't be there, maybe you got to schedule the opening of the Mishkan early bird. But you need the Zakenim there. If the Zakenim can't be there, you can't get started. You can't begin. It is a message for generations to come. We shared a similar idea on last week's Parsha, Tzav, the beginning of the Parsha, Trumas Adeshem, a very peculiar way to take out the garbage. You take out the garbage and you put it next to the Mizbeach, and only after you first put it down next to the Mizbeach, then you lift it and take it out. Terribly inefficient way to take out the garbage. What's the message said, Rav Hirsch? before you make the sacrifice of today, you have to look at and appreciate and recognize and honor the sacrifice of yesterday. So yesterday's korban, the ash, the garbage, the ash of yesterday's sacrifice, of yesterday's korban, sits next to the mizbeach for a moment, and only then do you offer today's korban. You think you're the first to make a korban? You think you're the first to offer a sacrifice? And I'll go so far not to diminish the challenges and sacrifices of today. I'm not talking about our soldiers in the front line. I'm not talking about the heroic efforts to protect the Am Yisrael that are taking place today. But I'm talking about, the sacrifice of staying home for Pesach. The sacrifice of whatever our challenge is today. I didn't get an aliyah in 3 months. The sacrifice of they didn't have my favorite charcuterie at the Kaddish. They ran out of the scotch before I got to taste it. Whatever the sacrifice is of today. And for every generation, their sacrifice is difficult for them. But stop, pause, turn around, respect, honor, recognize the sacrifice of yesterday, the Trumas Adeshin. Now bring your korban. Now make your sacrifice of today. So that's the role of the Ziknei Yisrael. They're indispensable. They have to be there. Moshe understood it. That's what he said to Paro. And that's why our Parsha begins, Aharon, Ubanav, the Ziknei Yisrael. Okay, the Parsha continues. Parak Tes, Pasuk Beis, moving right along. Vayomer al Aharon, and what was the inaugural korban? Kach lecha egel ben bakar lechatas, va'ayel le'olat tmimim va'akrev lefnei Hashem. Take for yourself a young bull as a chatas, a sin offering, and a ram for an olah, an elevation offering. They should be timimim, unblemished, va'akrev lefnei Hashem, and offer them, sacrifice them, bring them before Hashem. Says Rav Druck, we're going to move past the Lavos Eish, but says Rav Druck, Hamal ben Kasav Shatam Shayetzorach Aharon HaKohen Egel ben Bakar Af Shekvar Asa Tshuva Al Cheta Egel. Why is Aharon bringing the Egel? Egel ben Bakar, is it a coincidence? It's an Egel. Why is he bringing? Hashem put a spotlight for this. I see when the Parsha Shir is this time of day. Baruch Hashem. For those watching, looks like a funny light. Aharon is bringing an Egel. Is it a coincidence that the first korban Aharon brings for the first inauguration of the Mishkan is an Egel? When you hear the term Egel, you think not only of a bull, not only you think of the type of animal, Egel ben Bakar, but you think of Cheta Egel. Why? Because this is a korban chatas. The chatas, this is a continued kapara. Aharon is still repairing the damage done from his participation in the Cheta Egel. But why? Isn't it enough already? Shouldn't he leave it behind? So the very interesting Yisod says Rav Druck. The tshuva, the repair that Aharon had done, he was Stam Aharon. He was Stam a Kohen. Now he's designated as the Kohen Gadol. Now he has ascended higher in his role. So now he needs to do additional tshuva. The more prominent the role, the more important the role, the more responsibility you have in that role, the more you have to update and upgrade your tshuva. The more responsibility you have, the greater the role that you have. So that means that more is being asked of you, the more you have to show up, the more you have to meet the standard. So if you were just on the committee, but you became the chair, if you were the assistant rabbi, you became the rabbi, if you're the Kohen, you become the Kohen Gadol, you need to look in the mirror and say, what more work do I need to do? I already did tshuva for mistakes of the past, but that was for the lower level I was on. But now I ascend, now I climb, now I'm on a higher level. It demands more, it takes more responsibility. What do I need to do to be more, to be bigger, to be better? Listen to this insight. Earlier this morning we had our Kaddish club. Once a month, those who are in Avelos, the unenviable club, the Kaddish club, we meet, we learn something, and we offer some chizuk and answer questions and have a sort of bereavement support. So here's an idea for the Kaddish club. On the yurtzeit, a person davens for the Amud, and they say Kaddish, the yurtzeit of a parent. Why? Why do we observe a yurtzeit? Why does a person have a right to the Amud? They lead the davening. Why do they light the candle and say the Kaddish? Why do we observe a yurtzeit? So the simple understanding is, if that's the day that the person left this world, so then that's the day that they're constantly rejudged, reevaluated, and we need to do more in their merit. So on the anniversary of the day that it was determined their neshama would be extracted from their guf, the soul would be taken from their body, we do things in their merit and in their memory, like give tzedakah, learn Torah, sponsor a shir, lead the amud, say Kaddish. Melech Yoshev Akisei din v'sifrei Chaim v'sifrei Mesim Suchan lefanav shalachor ketzad shayach lodin usamesim shemesu ve'inam od b'zeh ha'olam. But how can you judge them? They're no longer in this world. Since last Yahrzeit, they didn't have free will. They weren't back in this world. They weren't back in a body. They were not back in having a vehicle or instrument to make choices. So why would they need another Kaddish? Why do they need another Yahrzeit? Why do they need another Aliyah if there's nothing to atone for or repair for or make up for? Since last year, there's no Bechira, there's no free will. They're gone. Hashem evaluates each person if they left in this world righteous disciples and progeny. You can't make new investments after we leave this world, but you can continue to get a return on the investments you made. When you have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, when you have neighbors and friends and students, when you left a positive legacy and impression and influence, when people are inspired to walk in your footsteps, you continue to rise. You get a better seat in Shemayim. But if the opposite, you came late, so your children come late. You spoke Lashon Hara at your Shabbos table, so your children, that's our Masorah, that's our Minhag. We also talk about the rabbi at the Shabbos table. You were stingy and didn't give tzedakah, so your children and grandchildren learned. Also that someone else's problem, you don't give tzedakah. So also, you don't get a better seat, you keep getting a worse seat because you're getting a negative return on your investment. You're losing money. That's the impact that you have. So we say Kaddish in order to elevate. However, says Rav Druck, that's all according to our classic understanding that neshama gets judged again every year at sight. But comes along based on the malbim that we just said. And there's another reason to say Kaddish. We assume the opposite. You elevated the neshama through your merits. And now that they're on a new level, now they need new merit. If you understand the malbim on why Aharon needed additional kapara once he became the Kohen Gadol, that when a person ascends to a greater position, when they ascend to a higher level, and they have greater responsibility, now they need to reevaluate and do more work on themselves. So now it makes sense that if Taka, the person had an Aliyas Neshama, they're in a better seat, in a better place, now they need more schus, and that's why we continue to daven for them and on their behalf as well. Okay, that is Rav Druck. Moving along, Perek Tes Pasuk Vav. Skip down a few psukim. Vayomer Moshe, Zeh Davar Shatziv Hashem Ta'asu, Vayera Aleichem Kavod Hashem. Moshe said, this is the thing God has commanded for you to do. Vayera Aleichem Kavod Hashem. The glory of Hashem will appear to you. What does that mean? This is the thing. What does that mean? Says Rashi. Vayera Elav. Vayomer Moshe. Says Rashi Pasuk Vav. To reassure the people that the glory of Hashem would appear to them that day as a result of Aaron's performance of the service. After Chet HaEgel, Hashem withdrew, but Hashem's going to come back. Be comforted and be confident and know Hashem is coming back. He told them after they carry out Hashem's command, after they build a Mishkan, after they begin opening day, don't worry, Vayir Elok Kvod Hashem, Hashem is coming back. But says the Amaras Taharas, the Rachmastrivka Rebbe, quoting the Rebbe Lublin, Api Amavur Baal Shech HaKadosh, Ki Tachlis Kol Maisa Mishkan, Lahamshich Hashras Hashchina B'Kerev Yisrael. What was the purpose of the Mishkan? What was the purpose of the Mishkan? It was a continuity. The Ramban saw it as a continuity of Har Sinai. We had tremendous revelation at Har Sinai. We saw, we felt, we heard, we experienced Hashem undeniably, and we craved that continued intimate connection. We want to hear Him, and we want Him to hear us. We want to be able to speak to Him. How do we continue that experience, the revelation of Sinai? How do we have that Hashras Hashchina? Shchina milashon shachein. Hashem is our neighbor. Hashem is accessible. Hashem is right near, right by. We want to come close. That's the purpose of the Mishkan. V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti v'socha. Make for me a Mishkan, a mikdash, and I will dwell in them. Omnam. Ikar amitas ritzoni yisbarach sheyuchal hashish chenaso v'soch kol echad ve'echad miYisrael atzmo. The real goal of Hashem is that you don't need bricks and mortar. That you don't need a shul, a Mishkan, a mikdash. that you don't need a centralized place where you can intensely feel His presence, where you don't need a kotel, and you don't need a harabayas. Already before the Mishkan was constructed, and certainly before it was taken apart, already before the Batei Mikdash were built and were destroyed, Hashem already revealed in the original plan that the goal is bisocham, not bisocho. Where I really want to be is in your house, around your dining room table, in your car. I want to be in your heart and in your neshama. I want you to feel my presence. I want to be in constant conversation with you. Bisoch kol echad ve'echad. As I zak the Alshech, the tachlis of the Maisa Mishkan is Hasharas Hashchina. Said the Rebbe Milublin, and this is exactly what our pasuk is telling us. The Jewish people right now, they can't wait for it to be done. They're watching. They put up the orange fencing, and they had all the renderings and drawings, and they ran the campaign for the Mishkan. No? When's the permit going to come already? When are we going to start the construction? When will it be built? When will it be finished? What's happening? They were longing, mishtokikim. Why'd they want it to be done? Because they knew that once there'd be such a holy place, a centralized place, a sacred place, it would capture the sacrifice of all the people who made it happen and gave to it. Ooh, Hashem would dwell. And then when they were filled with doubt or uncertainty, and they wanted to have clarity and confidence there's Hashem, all they'd have to do is come to the Mishkan. They wanted to unburden themselves and be able to confide and tell Hashem, their creator, everything, their heart, everything in their heart, their dreams, their fears, their worries. They knew that the Mishkan would be that place. V'kasharo is Gemara B'niyas HaMishkan, Chashvu shebezeh yiskayim kol ikar tachos hasharash chinaso, that yisparach shemo b'tachtonim. They thought when the Mishkan is complete, when it's done, then that is the apex. That's the essence. Then we're finished. Hashem Shechina will come down here. His presence will dwell intensely. Finished. That's what it's all about. So Amar lehem Moshe, yesh tachlis chashav yoser mizeh. As you're watching, as you're waiting, as we're about to celebrate the ribbon cutting of the Mishkan, Aharon's about to throw out the opening korban. We're about to get started. Zehu adavar shetziva Hashem ta'asu. Shetasu atem kol ma shetziva Hashem. Became Torah of mitzvahs v'ratzon Hashem yisbarach. Kol zeh adavar means not the Mishkan. Now, don't think you have some cop-out. Aharon, his children, they're going to be the religious leaders. It's up to them. And you can live your life. And when you crave a little spirituality, you'll just come to the Mishkan. No. Zeh adavar shetziva Hashem ta'asu. You, in your life, have Taryag mitzvahs. You have 613 mitzvahs. You have a Purim and a Pesach, and Shabbos is in between. You have Kashrus and Staka and Chesed. According to the Rebbe Milublin, what a critically important pasuk that punked here in the middle of the Mishkan, right as we're about to cut that ribbon and celebrate its completion. Don't think that the only place to find religion and spirituality is in the shul, is at the Mishkan. Is it going to be beautiful and magnificent? Absolutely. Will it be a place of elevated tefillah that will lift you? 100%. Will you have learning opportunities from morning till night? Chesed coordinated there? Will there be incredible things that happen? You'll feel Hashem's presence? Yes. But don't think your religious life and lifestyle will be relegated only to that centralized place called the Mishkan. No. Zeh davar shetziva Hashem ta'asu. When you're at home, when you're in the gym, when you're at work, when you're on the road, every time you put food in your mouth, you make a bracha. Every time you take in a paycheck, will you separate meiser? Every time there's an opportunity to make a meal, will you do chesed? Don't forget zeh davar Hashem wants us to do. And when we do, we'll have the ultimate Hashras Hashchina, which is not in the Mishkan or in the shul. Where is it? In each and every one of us. The ultimate goal is that we don't need a Mishkan for Hashras Hashchina. Of course, we long for it. We want the third Beis HaMikdash. And of course, we'll complete our campaign and our campus and our Mikdash Ma'at. We need it. We crave it. And it's helpful. And it's halachic. And it's appropriate. But the ultimate expression, manifestation of Hashem, the Dira B'Tachtonim, is not in the bricks and mortar. It's not in the centralized location of the shul. It's where? Vayera Aleichem Kvod Hashem. Aleichem. It's on us. Just like V'shachanti B'socham, vayera aleichem. Tasigu davar gadol yoser shitachlas ha'ikari shetishra shchina besoch kol echad ve'echad mikem. That the Shekhinah would dwell inside each and every one of us. That's the tachlis. That's the goal. It's a whole other way of understanding this pasuk. Before the Rebbe Milublin, before the Rachmastrivka, this pasuk was talking about the Mishkan. But now we've reinterpreted it. It's saying Mishkan's important. Celebrate it, give to it, contribute to it, benefit from it. But don't ever be confused by it or distracted by it and think that when you leave the Mishkan, you'll leave a secular life, a mundane life. No, the religious life, the Jew, it comes with us everywhere, wherever we go, because we are the vehicle, we are the platform, we are the bima, and we are the mizbeach, and we are the shulchan, and we are the menorah, and we are the mizbeach haketoras, and we are the kior, and we bring it with us wherever we go and everywhere that we are. Perak tes pasuk, perak tes pasuk zayin. Vayomer Moshe al Aharon. So now it's all set. The stage, literally, the bima is set. And Moshe invites Aharon to go behind the bima. Krav el hamizbeach, v'aseh es chatascha v'asol asecha, v'chaper ba'archa v'adam, v'aseh es korban ha'am, v'chaper ba'adam kasher tziva Hashem. No, Moshe says, Aharon, no, my older brother, come close. Krav el hamizbeach, come close and perform your chatas and your olah and achieve atonement for yourself and for all the people, and bring the korban and achieve atonement, just as Hashem says. Why does Moshe have to say krav el hamizbeach? What does it imply? When you say to someone, come close, what does it suggest they're doing? They're backing off. So you have to say, no, it's safe. Come. I'm not going to ask you right now for money. Come. It's okay. Come close. I'm not going to call on you. I'm not going to embarrass you. Don't be shy. Don't pull away. Don't retreat. Krav, come close. Why? So Rashi tells us what's going on over here. What happened? Why is it krav al mizbeach? Shaya Aharon bosh v'yari lageshas. Aharon is ashamed. He's embarrassed, and he hesitates from coming close. Amar lo Moshe lama ta bosh. Why are you embarrassed? Lekach nivcharta. For this you were chosen. And Rashi tells us elsewhere, what was Aharon embarrassed about? He sees the mizbeach. Mizbeach has kronos on mizbeach, the four corners that protrude. And if you're looking head on at the mizbeach, the corners that protrude look just like what? Horns of an egel. And Aharon sees it, and he recoils, and he shoots back, and he thinks to himself, oh boy, you know what that looks just like? An egel. I'm not worthy. Bosh, he's ashamed, he's embarrassed, he feels unworthy. And Moshe says, no, big brother, come. Lekach nivcharta. You were chosen for this. This is what you are all about. The Arizal says in the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, B'shvil sheyesh l'chaz midas habusha v'hachna'a zahaya ikar hagorim shenivcharta lios kohen gadol. What a pshat. The Arizal, the Baal Shem, what's going on? Aharon is embarrassed, and Moshe says, no, lekach nivcharta. Hashem chose you for this. Okay, Hashem chose me for this. Doesn't mean I shouldn't be embarrassed. I still remember my mistake where I went wrong. So says the Baal Shem, no, that's not what Moshe is saying. You know what Moshe is saying? Not lekach nivcharta. You were chosen to be the Kohen Gadol, so don't be embarrassed. It's the fact that you're embarrassed, the fact that you have healthy busha, lekach nivcharta. We have two types of leaders. Those who are shameless and those who have a healthy sense of shame. The ones who are shameless, who have no shame, should not be our leaders. They can never say they're sorry if they're never wrong, if they're never ashamed, if they're never embarrassed. If they think they're beyond reproach, then they don't qualify to be our leaders. What Moshe is saying to Aharon is, Lekach nivcharta. You know why you were chosen? Because sha'ata bosh. Because you still have the capacity for shame. The capacity for shame is something very healthy. In fact, today is the Yahrzeit, the Heilige Noam Elimelech, or Elimelech of Lezhinsk. Some of us here were on a trip to Poland together. We sat in his Beis Medrash, and we had a Fabrenga, we had a Tish, in the Beis Medrash of the Heilige Noam Elimelech, of Elimelech of Lezhinsk. So the Heilige Noam Elimelech writes on this pasuk, Vayomer Moshe al Aharon krav al mizbeach, quotes Rashi, lekach nivcharta, dihinei ikar hu la'adam habusha. Do you know what makes a person a person? An animal never blushes. You never saw an animal blush. An animal has to relieve itself, finds a tree, lifts its leg, and does its thing. Is he embarrassed? Does he look to shield himself? Does he try to hide behind the bush? No. There's no shame. There's no busha. An animal has no busha. What distinguishes a person as an Adam is the capacity for shame. Simon tov la'adam shehu baishan. It's a good sign. Rachmastrivka wrote a book decades ago called "Why Doesn't Anyone Blush Anymore?" He could never have anticipated. He's alive now. He sees what's happening. What would you talk about? A shameless world and a shameless society. Everyone can dress, act, identify, declare, perform, do. Shameless. Absolute shamelessness. It's a siman tov. It's a terrible, terrible sign of a society when there's shamelessness. And it's a sign of a healthy society when there's a little busha, when people are ashamed, when they recoil, when you hear or see profanity and you look away or you blush. That's a good sign. Says Rav Noam Elimelech, says Rav Elimelech, the Noam Elimelech, that a person who has that healthy sense of shame, lo b'mheru chote, it protects us. It protects us. Just like pain protects you from doing things that would hurt more, there's a terrible neurological disorder where a person has no capacity to feel pain. So you'll say, ooh, where do I sign up? That sounds great. I wish I never felt pain. But it's a horrific disorder. If you don't feel pain, you don't know if you've cut yourself, bruised yourself, have internal bleeding. Person doesn't feel pain. What are they missing? An alarm to know something's wrong. So what Rav Elimelech is saying is that spiritually, busha, blushing, is the pain of the soul. And if your soul never blushes and never feels pain, you don't know that a line has been crossed. You don't know that there's a virus, that there's a bruise, that there's internal bleeding spiritually, that something's wrong. The Aharon is bayish mod migodol achna shayabo. Aharon, through his tremendous humility, was ashamed. Shekain derech tzadik shetamed rabbe einav chatayim al kol nidin avera. Because the righteous, you know, those stock traders, they only remember every stock trade they made money on, but they conveniently forgot every time they traded and they lost, every investment they lost. So too, you have people, they remember every time they got it right in life. They forgot every time they made a mistake, they came up short, they got it wrong. But the tzaddik remembers where they went wrong. Not holding it on to the point of debilitating themselves, but to learn from it and to not repeat it. So Aharon walks around with this mindfulness, this consciousness of the chayta ego. ואפילו דבר קל לעבירה חמורה תיחשב למכניע עצמו משפיל עצמו תמיד. ובפני רבים מוכיח עצמו, וידי זה מכניס ערעורי תשובה בהשלמה. פעמים מברזם נפלה בהשלמה, אז מעשו איזו הכיר, הם חוזרים בתשובה שלמה, וזהו מה שאמר משה, למה אתה בוש? בשביל שאתה בוש, אם כן אתה הוא הצדיק השלם הרוי לקרב למזבח. לכך נבחרת, just like the Baal Shem says to Rebbe Melech, because אתה בוש, you must be a tzaddik. Somebody who never blushes, someone who's never ashamed, someone who never takes responsibility, someone who never apologizes, someone who never says they're wrong, someone who's never embarrassed by their behavior is not a tzaddik. They're not righteous and they're not roi to be a leader. When are you a leader? When you say, I made a mistake. I'm not perfect. Came up short. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. Lekach nivcharta shekachu roi letzaddik lesnayik ba'avodas Hashem. And zeo v'yakrav Aharon al mizbeach. That's what it means. Kevan sheshama Moshe shekachu madrega ma'ula. Once Aharon heard and learned that in fact, healthy shame is an asset, not a liability. It's a positive sign of siman yafeh, not a bad sign. Now he was ready to bring the first korban. Habusha v'godol achna b'lei v'asa kain. V'yikrav Aharon al-mizbeach. Shemekar v'atzmo tamid al-mizbeach. Shemotz v'atzmo chesronos. V'yimachashev tamish atzarach al-mizbeach kapara. It's interesting, the same Rav Elimelech, and we sang this when we were in Lezhinsk together. He wrote the Tzetel Katan, he wrote the small tefillah. And what's a person supposed to daven every day? That we should see in our friends. Avram Fried made a beautiful song out of this. We should see their milos, velo, chesronam. Don't see what they're missing, see their mila. So Rebbe Melech is saying, when it comes to ourselves, don't overstate your mila. Understand your chesronos, your weaknesses, your shortcomings, your mistakes. Be aware, learn from them, be cautious, be guarded because of them. But when it comes to someone else, only see their milas. Don't see their chesronos. See their virtues, see how wonderful they are, see what's redeeming about them. That's krav al mizbeach. Lekach nivcharta. Because you're bosh, because you have a healthy dose of shame, that's why You were chosen. Perak Yud Pasuk Gimel. Thrown off by the time. See how far in we are. Perak Yud Pasuk Gimel. Page 592 of the article Stone Chumash. Vayichu b'nei Aharon nadav avihu ish machtaso v'yitnu b'hein ish v'yasimu alei ketores v'yikru l'fnei Hashem ish zara nadav and avihu, which should have started. It's the happiest day in Aaron's life. He's got his 4 sons, and they've been chosen, designated to be the leaders, and he's been forgiven. In fact, he's being admired and celebrated that he's got a healthy busha, and it's opening day. All eyes are on Aharon. Should have been the most joyous celebratory day. Nadav and Avihu, 2 of his sons come, but 2 of his sons offer something that was not prescribed, something that was not commanded of them. So immediately what happens? A fire comes out and consumes them. And they die. Aharon loses 2 sons in an instant. Tragic, horrific. This calamity, this painful, unimaginable loss of Aharon on this day. How does he react? V'yomer Moshe Aharon, hu asher diber Hashem lemor. You know, we read this story and we have tremendous compassion for Aharon, but I would humbly suggest that we should also have compassion for Moshe, because Moshe is in the position of not knowing what do you say. What do you say to someone who's lost 2 children? In an instant, unexpected, abruptly. What do you say? What do you say? And Moshe finds words and he says, Bikrovai ek Kaddish, v'alpnei kol ha'am ek habed, v'yidam Aharon. What does Moshe tell his brother? He quotes Hashem as saying, I will be sanctified through those who are closest to me. I know that you are broken, that your 2 sons were taken, but in fact, it's evidence of how great they are because Hashem takes those who are closest to him. He's sanctified through those who are closest to him. And I will be honored before the entire people, Hashem says. And what's Aaron's reaction to Moshe's words? Do they suffice? Are they compelling? Are they comforting? Do they give strength? Do they explain what happened? What's Aaron's reaction? Vayidom Aharon. Complete and utter, absolute and eerie silence. And we have no idea the nature of that silence. The Vayidom Aharon. Is it a silence of submission? Is it a silence of questions? Is it a silence of paralysis and pain? Text doesn't tell us. Vayidom Aharon. Aharon is silent. He's quiet. Now, Parsha Shemini, Parsha Tzav, last week's Parsha, usually falls Shabbos HaGadol. Shemini is usually the first Parsha right after Pesach, the week of a Yom HaShoah, Vayidom Aharon. You think now of October 7th, 1200, another 255, another soldier lost their life, was killed, is next to the Kisei HaKavod. No one can come in the Mechitza. We spoke about yesterday, dying on Kaddish Hashem. How many parents in the last 6 months have to react with a Vayidom of Aharon, who got that knock on the door from the army to be informed about their children. Vayidom Aharon. Aaron's silence, we don't know. But I'll tell you, I've said it before, I'm repeating it. The Kloisenberger Rebbe was once asked by a young man, at a bris, we say the psukim from Yechezkel, B'damai chayi, b'damai chayi. Yes, what is b'damai chayi? What is b'damai chayi? He told the Kloisenberger, I assume what it means, b'damai chayi means with our blood, with our sacrifice, that's how we live. Those boys who go to the front line and who put their lives on the line to defend the rest of us, through the sacrifices that Klal Yisrael have made through the millennia, chayi, that's how we live. That's how we continue. That's how we survive. That's why we're here. Said the Kloisenberger, someone who knew sacrifice well, whose wife and many, many, many children were murdered by the Nazis in Yimach Shemam v'Zechram, and he rebuilt. Said the Kloisenberger, that's not what B'damayach chayi means. You know where B'damayach chayi comes from? B'damayach comes from Vayidom Aharon. B'damayach with Vayidom chayi. Just like Aharon, we don't know the nature of his silence, but here's what we do know. He put one foot in front of the other. In pain, broken, incomplete, changed forever, he continued with resolve, with resilience, with perseverance, with faith, understanding his mission and his role. he continued. That's what the Kloisenberger really, in a very autobiographical way, describing his own life, is Bidamayach Chayi, Bidamayach Chayi, Bidamayach is Bidamayach of Vayidom, is with the Bidamayach of Vayidom. And is that not what we've seen? Behind the Bima alone, we've interviewed families of those who've lost sons who were murdered by terrorists, Yimach Shemam, Shem Yikom Damam. And they, like Aharon, Vayidom Aharon, and B'damai Chayim, that one foot in front of the other. It's extraordinary, and it goes all the way back to our Parsha. Now Rashi tells us on this word, Vayidom Aharon, Kibel Schar Ashtikaso, Aharon received reward for his silence. Uma Schar Kibel, and what was the reward he received? Sheniz Yachid Imo Hadibur, Shenemra Lo Levado Parsha Shsur Yayin. That Aharon alone received the command directly from Hashem. It didn't come through Moshe, it came through him. And what was the command he received? The prohibition, you're not allowed, a Kohen can't bring alcohol into the Beis HaMikdash. Can't drink, I should say. There's Nisachim, but the Kohen can't drink. Aharon HaKohen was quiet, was silent, maybe accepted the divine will, continued nonetheless, and he gets some reward. And what's the reward? That the Isser, the prohibition of drinking in the Mishkan, was given directly to him. That's some reward for his silence. That this mitzvah was given to him? What does that mean? Says Rav Druck, Nir Levar, Ba'ofen Nifla, Kischar Otzum Ze Mar Lanu Es Goda Ma'asayu Ha'adir Shal Aharon HaKohen Bekach Shadimim. Shomaya Otzum Belibo Agzer Shamayim, Ach Kla Bechutz Hayamar Ez Dmimuso V'Kabal Sadin Bi'ava, Afilu Gam Belibo Yimekabal Agzer Shamayim, Achaisa B'tocho Nekuda Z'ir Shotzar, Shuv Lo Hayayachol Es Naveh L'Shmo Mikadish Baruch Es Parsha Yayin. If Hashem gave him this command directly, it means Aharon received Nevuah. What is the prerequisite to receive Nevuah? One only qualifies to receive divine revelation. Hashem only speaks to somebody who is Ein Shechina Shori Ela Mitoch Simcha. Person has to be besimcha. Hashem only speaks to somebody who is besimcha. Somebody who's sad and broken and excessively mournful. Kaddish Baruch Hu can't reveal himself to such a person. To be a platform, to have the antenna, to receive the signal, Ein Shechina Shorei Ela Mitoch Simcha. So says Rav Druck's brilliant insight. If Aharon received this nevuah, this tzivoy directly from Hashem, it meant what? That Aharon was besimcha, despite what he went through. He had moments, he cried. He had moments, I'm sure he went through Nadav and Avihu's closets and gripped their clothing and held on to every last vestige he had a connection to them. But overall, his attitude, his demeanor, his posture, his role, his interaction continued to be besimcha. Because if it wasn't, Ein HaNevuah Shora Lo Mitoch Atzos, Lo Mitoch Atzlos, Lo Mitoch Simcha, as the Rambam writes in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah Perek Zayin. Ela mikach sharon ono shenizachim ma'adibur anuron ki kabbalas agzer shel Aharon ha'isa ba'ofen mushlam lelo shum tsar v'ta'aromus u'lekach zach Aharon shenizachim ma'adibur, and because that's what it means. So it wasn't the reward of the particular instruction. The other understanding is one of the explanations of why Nadav and Avihu died is because they were intoxicated, they were inebriated, they entered the Mishkan drunk. It made sense that Aharon received that particular specific command. But the very fact that Aharon received the command is Hashem essentially giving a kiss, a wink, telling us, look at Aharon's greatness. The Vayidom extended itself so far that he remained not mitoch atzlos or atzvos, but he remained mitoch simcha. Okay, Perek Yud, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Perek Yud, Pasuk Yud Aleph. We now move over into the laws of Kashrus. Perek Yud, Pasuk Yud Aleph first. We go back. This is still the obligation. Yen v'shecher al tesht. You can't bring alcohol. Lahavda ben hakodesh ben hachol, to create distinction. Lahoros ben Yisrael is called chukim asher diber Hashem aleim biyad Moshe. Biyad Moshe. Sorry, this must be the wrong place. Yeah, Perek Yud Aleph. Then we get to the laws of Kashrus. The laws of Kashrus. Dabru ben Yisrael more zos achai shotochlu, so on and so forth. Pasuk Yud Aleph. V'sheketz yelachem mibsaram lo sochelu. Sheket hem lachem v'sheket yu lachem. So on this pasuk, what's the double language? V'sheketz yu lachem. What does the word sheketz mean? What's the word sheketz? Abomination, repulsive, disgusting. The Torah's Kohanim, Darsh Larabos, yeah. Torah's Kohanim, Darsh Larabos Tarovis. This comes to add a mixture. We're talking about here in this pasuk, permissible and forbidden fish, animals, creepy crawlies, all the different animals. So it's teaching us davar meshukatz machmas tzivah Torah emer lios etzlecha meshukatz be'etzem. Rav Avigdor Miller says, you know what the double language? V'sheket yu lachem. Sheketz heim, they are repulsive and abomination, disgusting. V'sheket yu lachem. Not only objectively that, said Rav Avigdor Miller, that because Hashem said they're usher, they're off limits, they should be that for us as well. Lo rak shetedu Hashem yisbarach usher zos b'Torah, ela taviu es atzmechem lematzav shezeh yeh b'teva shelachem shedavar she'inu l'ratzon Hashem u'lo l'ratzonchem ki am kadosh anachnu u'banim l'Hashem uvdalim min ha'amim lios li. It's a beautiful insight. Says Rav Miller, when the Torah, we've spoken about this before, recently, we talked about the candy aisle, the supermarket, the checkout. When Hashem says something usher, it should be so off limits to us that our very nature no longer craves it. Would you crave poison? Would you crave something you're allergic to? Would you crave something that's off limits? It's like the Ibn Ezra on Lo Sachmod. The last of the Torah says Lo Sachmod, don't covet that which is not yours. And Ibn Ezra is bothered. How can the Torah command an emotion? Don't want, don't envious, don't be jealous, don't covet. Ibn Ezra says, because you should see something as off limits to yourself, just like a person and their sister, just like the princess. The princess is not in your league. No matter how much you admire how beautiful you think she is, she's out of your league. So if you view the person who's off limits and out of your league as your own sister, no matter how beautiful or attractive, so too all the laws of Torah, if a person really lived with Yirah Shamayim, that Hashem, when He prescribes these laws for us, when He draws these lines for us, He's doing it in our interest, He's holding us accountable, and we report to Him, we work for Him, then a person would condition themselves that our very nature would adapt to the laws of the Torah and the way that Hashem gave them. Perek Yud Aleph Pasuk Mem Gimel. Keep going, laws of kashrus over here. Bottom page 604. Al tishaktu as nafshosechem. We see this word repeating itself. Now having to do with the creepy, crawly creatures. I think that's the technical definition, translation. Al tishaktu as nafshosechem b'chol asheretz asheretz v'al titamu bahem v'nidmesim bom. Don't make your souls abominable by means of any teeming things. Don't contaminate yourself through them, lest you become contaminated through them. On these words, the Gemara in Yuma Daf Lametes says, Avera mitamtemes libo shel adam. In Avera, when we make a mistake, when we ingest and imbibe food that's off limits, it has a poisonous effect, contaminates, it corrupts a person. Al tishaktu vinit mesem ella vinitamtem. Don't read it vinit mesem, it makes you impure. Read it vinitamtem. It affects us. Rav Elio Lopian says, you see a big yesod here. Ein zerak in skuli va'onesh amash adam avar al iser shal tishaktu zagam davar tivi mamish. A person should understand that what we imbibe has an impact on us. The laws of kashrus, we take on the personality, the energy of what we eat. And if a person understood that, what's at risk, what's at stake, we'd be scrupulous and vigilant when it came to kashrus. We'd be uncompromising. We wouldn't say, it's some Hebrew scribble, looks good enough. We wouldn't say, that looks like a religious symbol, looks good enough. I'm sure everything's okay. I'm sure it's fine. I can't imagine it's a problem. Would you say that if something were poison? Would you say that if something could kill you? Would you say that for your children if they could have a reaction that could cost them their life? So if a person understands that non-kosher is metamte misalev, it literally could kill us. It's metamtem, it changes, it fashions, it molds the heart, hardens the heart, has an impact on the heart. Then we'd be so much more careful with what we eat. Al tikre v'nit mesim ela v'nitamtem. Don't just read it v'nit mesim, but Lev Eliolopian says, O temes v'soseres libo mikol chachma. It clogs the spiritual arteries. It changes the heart. It has such a negative and terrible impact. Perek Yud Pasuk Mem Daled. Turn the page. 606. Aren't you impressed? Making it all the way to the end of the Parsha. This is clearly our slot. Don't get too excited. Perek Yud Pasuk Mem Daled. So this whole laws of kashrus is summarized now. Ki ani Hashem Elokechem v'yiskadishtem v'yisem kedoshim ki kadosh ani. I am Hashem your God. Sanctify yourself and be holy. Why should you be holy? Because I am holy. Ki kadosh ani. And don't contaminate your soul through any teeming thing that creeps along the ground. Says Rashi on these words. Ki ani Hashem Elokechem. Why should you be holy? God says, just like I'm holy, and what makes God holy? Where's the Gaitel? What makes God holy? Is the longest Shemona Esrei? What makes God holy? Because he doesn't need of any hechsher? No, what makes him holy is because he's mufrash and muvdal, separate, apart, distinguished, disciplined, self-regulating, sovereign. Just like I'm holy above, be holy below. It's a very clumsy, funny pasuk. Because I'm holy, you should be holy, then you'll be holy because I'm holy. Once you translate the words, it comes across incredibly clumsily. Because I'm Lord your God, sanctify yourself, be holy. And when you sanctify yourself and you're holy, you'll be holy. Why? Ki kadosh ani, because I'm holy. What's going on in this pasuk? What in the world's going on? So the Gemara Pesachim Daf Nun, and back to Ish Tamid. Double Rav Druck today, Lavos Ish, and making up for a lost Ish Tamid. Chazal in the Gemara Pesachim Daf Nun say, Liolam Yasva Gadol Torah of Mitzvos Afa Pishlo Lishma Shmitoch Shlo Lishma Bal Lishma. Person should always occupy themselves in Torah mitzvos, and even if they're insincere, and even if they're driven by the wrong motivation and reason, they should do it. You know why? Because if you do it for the wrong reason, you'll come to do it for the right reason. The Gemara Tzota Alam Zizos Mi Balak Shevischar Abba Meshanim Karbana Shikra of Balak Melech Moab. In the merit of the 42 sacrifices that Balak, the king of Moab, brought, whom did he have descend from him? Who emerged from him? Who comes out of Moab? Rus, Sheyatzim Yanu Shlomo, and from Rus comes Shlomo. Elef Olos Yala Shlomo. Arishafilu Karbanos Eila Shikra B'Shlo Lishma, Levasov Yatzim Shlomo Amela Shikra B'Shma. From the impure, corrupt motivation of Balak bringing the sacrifice, from him came a Shlomo who brought a sacrifice for a very authentic, very genuine, very righteous reason. Says Rav Druck, and we end with this, a very, very beautiful insight. You see an allusion to this here in this pasuk. V'his kadishtem. What form of the verb is that? Titpael. V'hit kadishtem. And what form of the verb is that? Reflexive. To transform yourself. Tisnahagu b'kedusha. Tasu pu'ulos chitzonios shel kedusha. V'tekachu atzmachem b'chol ma she'atem yecholim afilu shelo lishma. And then v'yisam kedoshim. You know what Rav Druck says here? Fake it till you make it. The Torah is telling us, fake it till you make it. Or put differently, they say, in some circles, dress for the job that you want, not for the one that you have. I saw Northwestern University scholars write in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology a study. The clothes we wear have the power not only over others, but also over ourselves. They call this internal dynamic, quote, enclothed cognition. While much research has looked at how our wardrobe influences the way we're perceived, their study examines its impact on our own thinking and behavior. If you wear a white coat and you believe it belongs to a doctor, your ability to pay attention increases sharply. If you wear the same white coat and you believe it belongs to a painter, you show no such improvement. Nothing wrong with being a painter. But if a person wears a white coat and they think they feel they look like a doctor, all of a sudden they can pay attention much better. The clothing we wear not only changes the perception impression that others have of us, it literally changes our own behavior, our own practice. It changes ourselves. Says Rav Druck, that's what the pasuk is saying. You know, I am the Lord your God. I have high expectations of you, and there's a piece of me inside you. And I know you think it's hard in this world, but v'his kadishtem, fake it till you make it. Put on a white coat, feel like a doctor. Dress for the job that you want, not the one that you have. Because if you fake it, you're going to make it. V'his kadishtem, if you carry yourself like you're holy, v'hisem kedoshim, then you're going to end up being holy. You're going to end up being holy. Stop waiting for the inspiration and motivation. Stop waiting for some moment. Stop waiting. When I'm holy, then I'll come to minyan during the week. Then I'll start the daf yomi. Then I'll be careful with lashon hara. Then I'll give meiser more tzedakah. Then I'll volunteer for when I'm holy, then I'll do holy things. But until then, I hang out with the non-holy. No, fake it till you make it. Act like you're holy, and you know what will happen? You're going to become holy. If there are changes you want to make, if there's someone you want to be, dress like it. Act like it. Take it upon yourself. V'his kadishtem. Do it on the outside, v'hisem kedoshim, and then even though it began superficial, surface, shelo lishma, it will awaken and arouse internally. And in the end, you'll end with kedusha lishma, and then you'll be on the inside as well. And that's what Rashi meant, says Rav Druck. Because of Rashi, if you sanctify yourself lamata on the holy level, then I'll sanctify you lamala. Fake it, do it on the lowest level, the shelo lishma level, and then I'll raise you up that you're doing it lamala, you're doing it on the internal, holy, genuine, authentic, higher level. This Kaddish should be zocha. Fake it, and the mitzvah Shem to then be able to celebrate that we made it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.